Hi, I'm Lix and I'm now in Wiesbaden. It's a picturesque city close to the German financial metropolis of Frankfurt and very peaceful, at least at first glance. It is not so much the present as the past centuries that give the city its unique character and charm. During my stay there for several days, I enjoyed the breathtaking landscapes and other sights and discovered some fascinating things. Let's take a look at this. Wiesbaden, the capital of the state of Hesse, is a spa town built on mineral springs that have been used since Roman times. As you are in one of the oldest spa towns in Europe, it makes sense to spend a few hours relaxing in these exquisite baths. The Kaiser Friedrich therm, named after the ancient founders of Wiesbaden, is designed in the style of a Roman bath and includes an indoor pool, a sudatorium, that is a vaulted sweating room, a tepidarium, that is a warm bath, a sanarium, that is a sauna, as well as a Finnish sauna and a Russian steam bath. And if you need to cool off or warm up quickly, there is a tropical shower pumping frosty or steaming hot water. Wiesbaden's main spa building is a magnificent neoclassical building with Art Nouveau decorations, especially in the metal and glass dome. Kochbrunnen, that is cooking fountain, is Wiesbaden's best known and hottest spring, emerging at 66 centigrade in its namesake square. There is also a drinking fountain in the square, which is housed in a neo-Baroque pavilion. The spring was initially documented in the 14th century, and the water is forced up from a depth of 2,000 meters, purified via processing plant and directed here. Kochbrunnen's fountain emits 370 liters per minute and has a faint sulfuric odor. Taunusstraße, a princely street of 19th century villas in the historicist style, runs diagonally and ends right after Kochbrunnenplatz. Instead of the conventional retail chains, the street features shops that reflect its affluent identity, such as design emporia, boutiques, galleries, restaurants and cafes. In 1851, architect Hoffmann created a small mountain park on the top of Neroberg, a 245-meter peak of a hill, complete with monuments and amenities. The focal point is the classical Monopteros temple, which offers the greatest view of Wiesbaden. As soon as you arrive at the top of this hill, you'll understand why you came. There is a breathtaking view of the Rhine Valley that extends all the way to the city of Mainz to the south. The south-facing slopes of the Rheingau around Wiesbaden are ideal for growing Riesling grapes to produce excellent wines. Charles the Great is reported to have observed the early snow melt from his palace in Ingelheim, a city about 11 miles or 17 kilometers from Wiesbaden. As a result, he decided the location was ideal for viticulture and planted the first vines there. Today, the single lay of Schloss Johannisberg in Wiesbaden has a wine area of 40 hectares and is owned by the viticulture domain Schloss Johannisberg. The 50 latitudinal line passes directly through the vineyard, which is north-facing and ideally protected from cold winds by the wooded Taunus hills. If you want the true taste of the famous Riesling wine, start in the 18th century castle, then descend into the cellars where wine is matured in wooden barrels made from the estate's own forest and the 900-year-old vaults of the original abbey, which store approximately 25,000 bottles dating back to the 1748 vintage. Beyond Wiesbaden's northwest boundary is the forest where Charles, Prince of Nassau-Usingen, established a pheasant breeding site for hunting in the 18th century. The hunting lodge, which was erected in the 1740s, is still surviving today and presently houses a restaurant. Following World War II, the park reopened as an animal attraction for regional species. In addition to pheasants, there are fallow deer, Otters, wild boar, barn owls, peacocks and lynxes. The size of the trees alone tells you that this forest is historic. I was especially struck by Wiesbaden's abundance of gorgeous structures. One is the St. Elizabeth Church, a Russian Orthodox church built in 1855 on Neroberg. Duke Adolf of Nassau constructed this as a tribute to his Russian wife, Grand Duchess Elizabeth Mikhailovna, who died during childbirth. One of the oldest Russian Orthodox burial places in Western Europe can be found outside the church. The climate in German politics and in the media is once again strongly anti-Russian, perhaps comparable to the period before the First and during the Second World War. Russian athletes were banned from participating in sports competitions. Russian artists were banned from performing in Germany, and even Russian tourists passing through Germany to vacation in a southern European country had their cars, suitcases and even lipsticks confiscated by the German authorities. Fortunately, this German Russophobia has had no effect on this Russian Orthodox Church or the symmetry, such as a ban on visits, at least not yet. Die Marktkirche is another stunning church. The great tower of this enchanting neo-Gothic church rises over 100 meters above Wiesbaden's historic Schlossplatz. The museum, Wiesbaden's three-winged structure, was built in the early 1910s, but its collection dates back at least a century to the collections of writer and diplomat Johann Isaac von Gerning, a contemporary of Goethe. The three sections include an art museum known for its 19th and 20th century paintings, an antiques collection assembled by the House of Nassau, and a natural history wing brimming with zoological specimens and fossils. Wilhelm, Duke of Nassau, relocated his residence near Wiesbaden's Market Square to demonstrate his unity with the locals and to connect with his ancestors. Construction on the Wiesbaden City Palace began in 1835, but Wilhelm died before it was finished in 1841. The monument, which serves as the seat of the Hessian State Parliament, is already a sight to behold from the outside and contributes to the well-kept ensemble of the Market Square. What strikes me as a foreign visitor here is the flag of a country that, like Germany 80 years ago, commits mass crimes against humanity. As someone who has lived in Asia for decades, I have noticed that the German elites, who have a bizarre guilt complex for the crimes of their grandparents, do not see history as a mirror like Chinese and other Asians to apply the findings to current events. Biebrich Palace, one of the most beautiful properties on the Rhine's banks, was built as a Baroque home in the early 18th century. The structure is now utilized for conferences and ceremonies by the Hessian state government. Whether you're in the mood for opera, ballet, musical theatre or a classical concert, the Hessian State Theatre has prestige, gorgeous architecture and a rich history. Giants such as Johannes Brahms and Clara Schumann performed at the theatre, and Richard Strauss served as a guest conductor. The most surprising thing I discovered was the train that runs to the top of the Neroberg, north of Wiesbaden. It is one of the few funicular trains in the world that still uses water ballast for propulsion. I was so intrigued by it that I made a secondary video about it, which I welcome you to watch as well. The English-style Kurpark, which was landscaped in 1852, is located on the Kurhouse's east side. The Kurpark Weiher, an ornamental lake with a fountain that sends a water jet 6 meters into the air, is located directly in front of the Kurhaus. You can rent a boat on the lake, and on the west shore there are benches, cafe terraces and an outdoor stage. The final resting place of the famous German pilot, the Red Baron, is also located in Wiesbaden. It is very popular with aviation and history enthusiasts. I have also dedicated a video to him, which you might also like to watch. Wiesbaden is really beautiful and wonderful. Who wouldn't want to live here? But Wiesbaden has also been an important US military base since the occupation of Germany in 1945. Recently, NATO appointed the US military there as the coordinator for its Ukraine project to supply weapons to Ukraine to attack targets in Russia. So NATO is controlling and directing the war in Ukraine against Russia from Wiesbaden. If these NATO weapons, whether fired directly by NATO soldiers or indirectly by the Ukrainian military, kill many people and cause massive damage in Russia, a red line will be crossed, and Russia will feel obliged to retaliate. Wiesbaden would become a target for Russian missiles, which would make things quite unpleasant here. I wish the good people in Wiesbaden all the best, because unfortunately NATO is exposing them to great risks that I would not take. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, click the like button. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do. See you in my next video.